And welcome back, everyone. As you know, here in the spring quarter of teaching at LTCC, Lake Tahoe Community College, we've been piloting some new approaches in terms of distance education. We've offered classes in distance format in the past through Canvas, and before that, a different learning management system. As we moved into the spring quarter and as the COVID virus hit globally, we were required to close as a physical campus and to use what we're calling enhanced virtual education. So let's take a look at what enhanced virtual education is in this video, and now let's focus a little more closely on what it might look like in terms of your classes. All right then, let's jump into our discussion of what we mean by enhanced virtual education. And I want to say that there's been a lot of communication already about this concept. So if you refer to President DeFranco's communications that he's offered in a number of contexts, and I'll give you the links to where you can find some of these videos, but he's talked about this idea of enhanced virtual education. So it's not necessarily new to us in terms of a concept, and in terms of practice, so many of our faculty right now are engaged and really in the past have been engaged in many of these forms of EVE or enhanced virtual education. And as always, you can go to ltcc.edu. You can click on the virtual campus link. Marketing is doing a great job of updating all the information related to helping students, faculty, and staff navigate COVID-19 and navigate this new virtual campus environment. And it's not just virtual education, it really is a campus that has moved for all practical purposes with some exceptions, and we shouldn't forget security, maintenance, library, and some other staff in the one stop in admissions working very hard on campus, and please stay safe in all your efforts. But for so many of us, we've moved to the online format in terms of our campus operations and of course our educational offerings. And this is a recent Twitter post from LTCC. So even though the campus is empty, we do spot the occasional coyote on campus. So if you want more information about any of the videos or the context I'm discussing today, really 4 sources to go to. As I said, go to ltcc.edu and click on the virtual campus link to check out things. Also, you can go to YouTube and click on LTCC, find our YouTube station, and you can get a number of those videos, including the video that I mentioned of President DeFranco on the student forum discussing this idea of enhanced virtual education. You can also go to the ltcc.edu Facebook page, which is located here. You can just go to Facebook and search for it, and you can also put in that at LTCC. And then, of course, Twitter as well, where you can click on at Lake Tahoe CC. So always good to have those addresses available because you can find the latest and most up-to-date information about virtual campus and any of the issues we're talking about today. Now, I was really taken with one of the slides that the president offered in his focus in the student forum to try to really ease our students' concerns. And this quote came from Institutional Effectiveness. They were trying to survey our students and see what some of the challenges would be moving to an online campus and moving to virtual education. And this student, I think, said it well. Online classes have always been extremely challenging for me, so I'm concerned about how well my classes will be going next quarter. And I think it's very important to remember that not all of our students have taken online classes. Not all of our students necessarily would take online classes if it were a choice between the face-to-face and the online or enhanced virtual education courses. And so it's very important to remember that many of our students will be coming to our classes, are in our classes right now, with some sense of trepidation about how certain things are going to work. How will my lab classes work? Can I really take a yoga class online? What about a painting class, and so forth? And so as we go through this presentation today, I think as we think about some of the technologies out there and likely some of the technologies to be developed, we can really focus on a student like this to understand what some of those fears are, and hopefully we can ease some of those fears with some of the approaches that we'll be taking today. Now, of course, technology is never a substitute for excellent teaching and excellent counseling and excellent faculty work in all the areas that we work in, whether we are teaching in a classroom or working in another faculty domain at the college. So it always, of course, is important to balance our use of technology with that sort of pedagogical approach that we all take as faculty members in terms of our care, our honesty, and our commitments to our students. As we think about moving towards enhanced virtual education, we know that in the past, things have been done not even in the educational realm, such as with online yoga, or we'll talk about Peloton later, the online fitness movement. So what we're doing is not necessarily new. Many faculty, say Larry Green in mathematics, have been involved in live Zoom sessions with their students, virtual office hours, and so forth. And to use some of the examples that we use today, such as Phyllis teaching a painting class via Zoom or some virtual means, it's not necessarily new to us, but we're being required to use more and more of these technologies than we have in the past. And indeed, some faculty who haven't taught virtually or in a distance format in the past are now being asked to do that. So certainly a learning curve for many of us in this journey. Now, you're all aware of the fact that we use a LMS or learning management system called Canvas. For many of us that have been teaching a while online, and I've been teaching here at the college since 2004, I remember when I was one of the first faculty members offering a DE class. It was Anthropology 103, Physical Anthropology. And I remember when we were meeting at a board meeting in the old boardroom, which is right next to instruction, sort of the shock on some of the board members and administrators' faces at the time when they saw the numbers were so big in this Anthro 103 class I had created using HTML on my own development of a learning platform before we had Etudes and then eventually Canvas. And I think there was surprise because people thought, well, will students really want to take an online class? Don't they want to take a class in person? And I think over the years, since I've been teaching all these years later, I think we've realized that many of our students enjoy using Canvas because it's flexible. They can often work on things at their own pace. They can use technology. If they're introverts, maybe in some cases, they feel a little bit better about the kinds of participation and discussions and even some live video stuff that could happen, say, in the home environment versus coming to campus. That being said, not every student, not every faculty enjoys online teaching or online learning. But Canvas is a system, I think if you've been using it and if you're discovering it now, it's really flexible, it's open. You can incorporate the parts, the apps, the tools in Canvas that you want to use. You don't have to overwhelm your students or yourself with the technology. And it's a system that continues to grow over time. It's not a closed system. What that means is we can click on Canvas Commons and import new content. We can create new content in Canvas Studios or in any of the other areas. We can also go to our settings and click on apps and load in new apps that are developed very quickly and often are meeting needs. In fact, just the Canvas Commons tools that are available, I've seen that grown from around 86,000 unique resources to well over 100,000 in the couple of weeks that we've been dealing with the global pandemic and the quarantine and the lockdown. So Canvas is a really wonderful LMS or learning management system. And I just want to say that there's a lot in Canvas that you can do that's highly interactive, and we'll go through some of those tools today. And secondly, and what I'm doing here is featuring a number of the tools that I think will complement what we're doing in terms of enhanced virtual education. So many of you are using Zoom. Zoom is a wonderful real-time video platform for meetings, for class conversations, for a lot of different contexts that you can use it for. And what's cool about Zoom is you have that sense of mimicking a face-to-face form of communication, even though, as you can see from this meeting here, you're meeting from the comforts of your home. So Zoom is really nice because it allows people to stay together. As Zoom said here, we're staying connected wherever we're at. And so it's a real nice advantage that we have. If we were teaching in the 90s, and I remember teaching in the mid-90s, early 90s actually, dating myself here, where we didn't have an internet. We had card catalog systems. I cannot imagine what a pandemic would be like back in the early 90s in terms of trying to do some of this. We would not be able to do video conferencing. It was not available. The internet was not available. So it's pretty amazing to think about how far we've come and how we're leveraging some of these amazing technologies like Zoom as we are today. Now, if you want some information on using Zoom, if you want some of my prep videos, please go to my ltccteachingandlearning.com website, which I'll mention throughout my presentation today, and click on any of these videos. These are workshops conducted with faculty and staff on campus, and you can certainly get more information about Zoom. I'm always happy to reach out and help you as questions come up with using Zoom in your own settings, whatever those happen to be. Now, the next focus here is on real-time video instruction. So Zoom is really amazing for online meetings, conversations with your department, staff, and faculty. It's also quite good for doing online instruction, and I call this slide the surprising translation of face-to-face to virtual, or DE, or as we're calling it, EVE, Enhanced Virtual Education. For years, we know that Peloton has been quite popular and presumably is becoming even more popular in this time of gyms closing shop because of COVID-19. And so it's obviously very possible, if you have the right equipment and a video connection and live trainers, to take part in something like Peloton and really have an experience that seems quite real. Over time, a lot of the treadmills that you might encounter in gyms when you take a vacation, actually have updated such that you can do real-time virtual walks. You can take part in walking on a path as if you are doing it in nature, but you're doing it on a video screen. And then there's correlation between what happens on the treadmill in terms of the incline and, say, the video that you're watching. If you're going uphill in the video, then the incline on the treadmill would increase or decrease based on that terrain. So it's kind of cool to see that's been happening in the world of experiential design, certainly in the world of theme parks, video games. If you've been to a place like The Void, which is a really immersive video game experience that takes advantage of all your senses, including haptics or touch, as you're touching physical objects and you're actually moving through real three-dimensional space. I had a chance to participate in the Void experience when I was in Las Vegas, and it really blew me away just in terms of the potential of using some of this new video gaming technology and immersive environmental technology in future educational contexts. So I don't want us to forget that this has been happening outside of education, and I think we can really leverage and take advantage of some of the folks who've developed this for those experiential worlds and maybe use that in our own classroom settings. Now, there's a lot happening with virtual counseling, so reach out to our counseling faculty if you have any questions. We have something called Cranium Cafe. That's a really cool opportunity for counselors to meet with their students. Again, video, real time, and Sarah Marquez recently did a video which you can access on our LTCC YouTube site if you're interested in how Cranium Cafe works. Really cool technology that allows our counseling faculty to maintain counseling in an era in which we've gone into quarantine. There's also real-time video office hours. Again, using Zoom or some other technologies. It could be the chat function in Canvas. It could be a live Zoom session and other options. If you're interested in any options for doing video office hours, please refer to my video office hour options in Canvas, and I go through the 4 options there that are available to you. So really cool to think about. One update since this video has been produced is a conversation with Treva and some others on campus about what happens if you're teaching 2 classes that have different content and you're trying to structure your virtual office hours such that you have students who maybe shouldn't be meeting with you at the same time because it's different content. Dr. J.D. Dirk, I know, recently did a handout, and I think this is going to be shared to Canvas Commons for more information. He has a strategy in which he lets people in, setting up an hour video chat, and then he lets people in using the waiting room such that you don't get that overlap of students who want 2 different areas of content help in maybe 2 of your classes that you're teaching. So more information on that, check out my video on office hour options for more. Also, a lot happening with virtual labs. So those of you who are teaching science right now may be involved in doing virtual labs. I encourage you to check out my video on virtual labs and Labster. It's a really interesting technology that allows you to feel like you're actually there. You put on a virtual lab coat, you move around a laboratory, you undertake safety measures, there are quizzes and so forth. If you want any information about how to incorporate Labster in your class, please refer to my Labster video, again available in my various links that I've sent out. Now, there's also a focus on virtual education and DRC, or Disability Resource Center services. Any questions that come up, reach out to Kelly Greiner. She's our expert on campus, our lead for the Disability Resource Center. She can give you all the up-to-date information. I know we're having conversations offline about how to maintain accessibility for all of our DE education. The good news is a lot of the technology we have, including Canvas Studio here, allows you to caption. So does YouTube and other platforms as well. And secondly, because of our CBC OEI grant, we've actually been involved in working on accessibility as a vital part of our virtual education here at LTCC. And if you want more information, there was a really good talk with Kelly and Treva on note-taking services and general strategies for students with disabilities. So check out my website or go to my YouTube page for that video. And I appreciate what Kelly and Treva offered us. Now there's also the enhanced use of video through Canvas and Canvas Studio. So you can use Canvas Studio, which is how I'm recording this screen share today for you. Wonderful tool. Check out my video on Canvas Studio for more. And then if you want video in general, I go through all these various forms of video. Zoom, recorded media using the Canvas tools, Canvas Studio, cell phones, and personal apps. So a lot of opportunities to connect with our students. You can use these videos for doing a screen share and taking students through websites. You could do a tutorial on using particular forms of software. You could even do a class lecture and then play that for your students live using Zoom. I know Brian Yering in the art department has been doing this, where he records a lecture in Canvas Studio and then he streams part of that live when he's talking to his students via Zoom. So a lot of possibilities with the enhanced use of video here in Canvas, Zoom, Canvas Studio, and the like. And I don't know if you know this, but there's also an opportunity to do video quizzes. So you can set up a very basic quiz using any of your videos in Canvas Studio. If you want to do that, you simply click on the video with this tab and then you create a quiz. And once you create that quiz, you can actually choose multiple choice, true or false, multiple answer, and you can either choose to show the time index where that quiz question will pop up, or you can hide it, thus requiring students to watch a video from start to finish. So a really cool option if you want to integrate quizzes right inside of Canvas Studio. And by all means, check out Canvas Studio. Once you record your first video, you can easily create a quiz for your students in Canvas Studio. Now, did you know we have virtual proctoring? We have a program called Proctorial. It's currently available on your Canvas shell. All you have to do is set it up in your Canvas class under settings. Once it's set up, you just go in and enable Proctorial here as a secure exam proctor. And at that point, a series of choices will come up that allow you to monitor your students' behaviors, lock down unauthorized computer content or technology during an exam or quiz. If this is your kind of thing, definitely watch my video on Proctorial, because I think there's a lot of options there for you to make sure that your students are not committing academic dishonesty or cheating during a quiz or exam. So another great service we offer to our students, and we have been offering this ever since we've had Canvas, our learning management system, is net and virtual tutoring. So at any time in a class, you can pull up the option here, and what you want to see in your Canvas shell is this tab that says free online tutoring. If you do not have that enabled in your class, as you know, simply click on settings, navigation, and drag up that option that is called free online tutoring. So when you click on that, this particular window will pop up, and this is actually staffed, I believe, 24 hours a day. You can see all the various subjects, and so what your students could simply do is click on, for example, sociology, and then it will tell you if there is a live tutor available. You can look at the schedule for live tutoring. You can also look at your locker, which would have videos of past tutoring sessions, and you can always drop off a question here. And this up here has additional information about tutoring hours for each discipline. You could click on customer support, or as I said, you could drop off a question here. I won't go through that, but once you do that, you could actually get a response that way. So this is a great service to remind our students of in any of your online classes. Just be sure to direct them to the free online tutoring, and of course tell them to visit the tab that is appropriate to the discipline that you are teaching in. So in addition to the net tutoring options, you're probably aware that we have Cranium Cafe on campus. This is of course being used for our counselors and many other student services departments on campus to connect with our students. You can always get to it by typing ltcc.craniumcafe.com. And this shows you through Melanie in the library some of the areas available for math and stats and some other areas. You can also get to this from your Canvas shell. At any time, you would want to click on Virtual Student Services. It will ask you to open that in a new tab, and you have to hit agree at the beginning. And so when you get to this page, then if you're a student, you could either log on or create a new account. And so this is another handy way for our students to connect virtually with various forms of tutoring as they would if we were offering traditional face-to-face courses. Now, we should also say there's a lot of emotional support for virtual services. I saw this article recently by Rob Jenkins in the Chronicle of Higher Ed, 2 Principles Guiding My Reluctant Online Conversion. And you can see Principle 1, students must be held harmless, in terms of saying, look, we realize that a lot of you are going to be dealing with COVID as we are. We realize that some of you are not maybe able or prepped to be a part of a distance or enhanced virtual education environment. So we're going to keep that in mind. His second point is to say, I will not allow, perfectionism to get in the way of good. Many of us have been saying, maybe we need to focus on being good, but not being perfect in these very imperfect times of COVID-19. That being said, we have a lot of campus support for virtual services. You can go to ltcc.edu, click on the virtual campus for student, faculty, or staff support. You can ask a question and someone on campus will get back to you. So support services will definitely continue. We also need emotional support services for our faculty. So I encourage many of you to take part in a teaching talk on a Tuesday. Please reach out to me for the Zoom link. Already we've had 16 in the books and we have more on the way. So every Tuesday from 12 to 1, join us on Zoom. You can also take part in any of the workshops I have coming up. We've already done 33 one-hour workshops with over 300 participants. Treva and myself have also been involved in one-on-one training, so a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. So if you can take advantage of an upcoming workshop with us, with fellow faculty members, please do so in the future for both emotional and technical support. And speaking of technology and access concerns, LTCC administration, many others on campus, and the One Stop are really focused on making sure we meet the needs of our students in these challenging times in terms of getting resources to them, in terms of hotspot internet access, and the like. So very important to keep a focus on this. Here's a recent picture in the LTCC library of all the Chromebooks being processed and being sent out to our students. And so it's just wonderful to see that there's so much happening in terms of basic technology support for our students. Also wanted to mention that the Equity Office continues to be in operation, even though we're going to this virtual campus situation. So at any point you could go to ltcc.edu, click on the Equity Office, connect to their services, and then the food pantry is also in full operation. I hear they have actually been quite busy, and so if you want any information, click on ltcc.edu/food pantry, and there are arrangements being made for students to be able to come to campus and pick up groceries. And there's also a lot of procedures, as you might imagine, in terms of sanitizing any of the goods that are being passed out to students. I want to also say, in addition to everything I've talked about here in terms of EVE, there are numerous other media, interactive apps, and technologies located inside and outside of Canvas. I don't want to minimize those technologies. Take advantage of them, whether they exist in Canvas Commons or in one of the apps inside Canvas, or even an app that you're using with your students in your class. There are many other virtual services on the horizon. Be on the lookout for these. Announcements will go out once these services are made live, and if you have ideas for things we're missing, anything that we might be missing, please send a message in to the appropriate parties, and hopefully that can get addressed. And I want to say this was one of my posts recently on social media on Twitter, and it was an article about how to hold your institution's commencement ceremony virtually, and I titled it, Embrace the Virtual is Real. And I think it's a cool opportunity to think about how, for many years, a lot of people have said, virtual learning or virtual spaces aren't real. Well, they're real. They just happen to be real at a distance, what we call telepresence. There's a presence to our meetings and to our teaching, but it's not happening in the same face-to-face space or learning environment. It's happening at a distance, at a teledistance. So it's important to remember, because we can really embrace a lot of the technologies. This is from the student feed on the Coyote Corner app. I love it. It's here's my home learning space, and they're getting comfortable and they have all their decorations, and it's a cool reminder that there is a realness to what we are experiencing now, even though sometimes it's not the ideal. So as usual, if questions come up, please reach out to me. I'd be very happy to connect with you and have a virtual Zoom meeting and a conversation about these topics or any others that might come up here at LTCC. So that is it today, focusing on the idea of enhanced virtual education. Even as we move beyond teaching in this format during the COVID pandemic, we might think about some of the benefits offered by some of these techniques we've used, including these live Zoom sessions with our classes, and how those might come to benefit future opportunities to connect with our students, going back to the norm, offering distance education and also face-to-face classes. So some opportunities to think about how we could improve in the future and use enhanced virtual education throughout our pedagogy here at LTCC. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with additional videos like these in the future.